Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Express the Opinion with Lynn Roberts. I am your girl, Lynn Roberts.
I'm that girl, DC.
And I'm that guy, Trey.
And today's discussion, y'all, this one should be a good one. Should parents kick their kids out at 18? What you think? What you think? You say no? What
No.
say you?
No.
Negative.
Well, don't forget.
It depends.
It depends.
It depends, and we can get to that.
All right, we're going to get to that. But in the meantime and in between time, don't forget to click the like, share, and subscribe button. And also, don't be afraid to leave your comments at the bottom. Just leave your comments, because I know if you got kids over 18 or kids approaching the age of 18, this is the topic for you. Let's get to it. All right, so kids being kicked out at 18.
Okay, so, I did some reading up.
I know you did.
Yes. So, in doing that reading up,
Uh-huh.
right now, as of last year, 17.8% of children were still at home between the ages of 25 to 34,
Yep.
living with parents.
Mm-hmm.
The average age now that kids are leaving home or made to leave home is about 27.
Oh, okay.
The age that society says, kind of, sort of, traditionally, is 18.
Mm-hmm.
But things have changed since
Yeah.
then. It's a lot
Times,
more
economics,
exactly.
a lot of things have changed since then.
So
What say you, Mr. Trey?
I see the way you be looking at my notes. You be trying
Oh my God! I did not look at your notes. I did not even.
that is what's called plagiarizing. You look at somebody's notes and try and
I am not looking at your
Check the tape. Check the tape. Check the tape.
If she looking now, she
have
good.
mercy. Oh my God! I have
So-
my own notes right here. Thank you, Greg. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Can you just-
So, I, for one, DC, thank you for bringing the stats.
Mhm.
Now, for my opinion on it,
Mhm.
I have yes and no for me.
Okay.
No on a larger scale, because if you're an adult who has learned some things in life, then hopefully you're trying to teach this young person how to be successful.
Mhm.
On the short scale, I say yes, kick their little behinds out, is because of the defiance that a young person may have, thinking that they know the world better than you do. Now, that 18-year-old may also have parents that's defiant in life. So they want to defy their parents, and they want to leave themselves at the age of 17, 18, and they threatening the parents, I'm leaving when I'm such and such.
Yeah, as soon as I turn 18, I'm out of
Right.
here.
So I feel like if you are the type of household where you sent your kids off to college, I don't think they're technically out the house.
True.
They're just out doing something to achieve a goal. But
Okay.
they're still home.
Yeah.
When they get out for the summer, they're coming back to the house. They're not going to their personal home, they're coming back to the house. So if a child is in college, then we talking about another 4 years after 18. So we're talking, what, 22? They may be graduating. So now, as a parent, are you telling your children, hey, I need you to also try to find you a job at home so you can continue to stay with me for another 3 to 4 years, so to speak? I'm not saying how many years it needs to be, but in those years that you're here, we need to ensure that your finances are going to be suitable for you to be out on your own. You don't need to go out. A parent today doesn't need to allow their kid to leave the nest without
the skills to
some stability, something that's going to help them sustain themselves.
Right, and they can do it themselves, right? So they need to have a financial nest before they leave the house. You don't need to let them leave and they working at KFC and you know they about to struggle and they're gonna be in your pockets.
And I think that's a problem, an issue, not necessarily a problem, but an issue that a lot of black families have, because we've never given our kids that type of upbringing or that type of nest egg to say, okay, this is to help you while you're on your own.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give you that nest
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I can't afford to give it to you.
Yeah,
but I'll let you stay in my house.
Exactly.
And ensure you're economically sound to leave because I'm watching your money just like the bank watch your money. And also in our community, I also believe that we're the type of society to where we get a couple dollars and we feel like we need to hide all that info from our people. You see what? Go ahead.
No, I was just actually going to give you some more information on exactly what you said.
Okay, go ahead.
In order for a child to be successful, they say after college, they should stay home for at least 3 to 5 years. When they leave, they should have, in addition to what they already have moving out, they should have at least $32,000 to $5,000 saved up.
32,000.
3,200,
okay.
3,200 to 5,000 at least saved up. So that is exactly, when I was doing my research, that is exactly what they say. If you want to really have, you know, sound grounding. Now you have some that when they do interns, they're offered those jobs. But a lot of times, as the parent, you still are helping them with their first apartment. You still helping them furnish it because they have an intern, but they haven't started the job.
True.
If you fortunately get an intern to pay you, then that's a different story.
True.
But you know, still. What he said was exactly right. After college, you know, 3 to 5 years, if your child, you know, does come home, some of them like to branch on their own, they get a roommate and they make it work. But for those like, you know, that you are actually helping them build that foundation that doesn't get robbed as easily, then 3 to 5 years after they graduate, a lot of them stay with you, save their money for whatever they're going to do, whether it be apartment, house purchasing, and they still need to have their money saved up, and that allows them to save their money. So I mean, when he was saying that, I was like, all right, okay. But
what about the ones that, you know, you try to do all of that for them, and then they end up coming back anyway?
Well, see, you're doing it for them. You know what I mean?
No, I'm saying, you help them, and you give them the assist and that leg up that they need, and then they end up coming back again.
Well, they're supposed to be able to come back.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying.
So
ain't no revolving door.
How many times should a child be able to return home? I guess
as much as possible. It's home.
Okay, and it's called home for a reason.
It's called home for a reason. I know that I'm out on my own and I'm trying to create a home for my future family. But if I don't have a family, and let's say I do have a family, and the household, my home is big enough to where it can take care of us, then first I want to make sure that I'm always good with my family to where I can go back home. So that's just structure and family morals and all that good stuff. But a home is supposed to always be open for me to be able to come back to. If I fall on hard times, where else am I going to go?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
It's called the boomerang effect.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is the proper term. It's called boomerang.
Excuse me.
Look at that. All right.
Now, okay,
So everything I said just now is called a boomerang effect.
Yes.
And is the boomerang effect, the definition of boomerang effect, is it negative or positive?
It could be both negative and positive because you can, in one, you can be that support factor. In another part, you can be an enabler. So if they're out and they're not making it because they're not trying to, or I can always go back home.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's the attitude they're taking. Then the boomerang effect is not necessarily a positive thing. But let's say that they are out and they lost their job. They came back home. Then no, I wouldn't say that was a negative effect. That was like what you said. You should always be able to go home.
To support.
Right. If you fall off.
If they went out and medically something happened, they came back home. Okay, but let's say they was out and they were just out lollygagging, partying, spending their money, you know, on
no
crazy
sense
stuff.
of financial responsibility.
So, so when we were talking earlier, we were saying that the family, whoever the head of the family is, should be structuring that child to leave the house in a responsible state. So if that child is coming back home just for being loose in the streets and doing whatever they want to do, then they wasn't taking those lessons seriously, or those lessons weren't being presented. Right? So now if the child comes back home because they failed in trying to do the adulting, then is the structure back in place? Because it was a structure that you left from. So, you can come back home, but you got to put up X amount of dollars per month in order for us to do this. in the
Okay.
future. You know,
With that being said, do you think children at home should be contributing to, since they're there, should they be contributing to the household bills?
every working body should be contributing.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's our hands down, because that is the first phase of responsibility.
Exactly.
You have some parents that say, "Oh well, no, I want them." Now, once they leave and come back, and once they get to a certain age, if you're working and providing income, save your income, spend it on what you need, and contribute to your sustainability while you're in the house.
True.
Now, because they're young, are we teaching them how to financially be responsible at the same time?
Well,
I
need to be.
Yeah, and
Everybody doesn't, but we need to be. But then they got to be serious. But here's what I think also happens. You could teach it, but if you are an enabler, it's hard for them to be receptive of it, because they know that net is always there. So sometimes even though, like for instance, I'll put it this way.
it's like a security blanket.
I know I clean people, but I know people that pay bills, have their kids pay bills, they put an account for them. So their kids think they're paying bills,
Yeah.
but they're actually building
Yeah.
their own account. I had a family member when their children was in college, they put them on their credit card, so they had established credit when they graduated.
I did my kids like that. All three of my kids are on my credit cards.
So so like I said, it just depends on who grabbed it and respond to it, and those that that may not grab it that first time around. Those are the ones I think you have to be a little bit stronger on, depending on your reasons for coming back home. If they came back home for just doing anything, then you got to be that much stronger. You got to give them some goals. Okay, so we sit down, map out our goals. What's gonna happen? Are you going when you come back? What is the goal for you being able to leave again?
Right.
What is the goal for you? How much money do you need to have? Are you gonna have by the end of this? Okay, what type of job are you going for? If you didn't go to college, you went out and the job didn't sustain you. Okay, are you going to take up a trade? I mean, because college is not for everybody, so I understand that. So what are you going to do to ensure that you can sustain life? Because mama and daddy are not always going to be here.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
And I had that conversation with my kids the other night, and I asked them. I mean, it's a conversation that needs to be had. But I asked them, what would you do? What would you all do if I was not here?
That's a question that kids don't.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't want to face.
Yeah, they don't want to face, but it's a reality though.
For us, it's easy to receive, because when I was younger, and my mom tried to come to me and talk to me, I wasn't hearing them. Like, what? You going what? And I tried to tell my daughter, she cannot stand me telling her about the day that she's gonna have to bury me.
But it's a conversation that you have to have with your kids. And my main reason for me having that conversation with them was to let them know these things y'all got to do on your own. You can't keep coming to me asking me, Mom, how do you handle this, or can what to do. You gotta learn stand on your own 2 feet and do that yourself. Don't come to me.
Are you teaching
Figure it
them?
out? Yes. I mean, my kids are 33 and 32. So, yeah, you should know.
So they're cool with the tools.
Yes.
They're just not applying them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, you want to do this. You have to do this yourself. I'm not doing it. You got to do it.
Okay.
Period. Because, and I do admit by me being a mom, you always like, all right, I got it, But then it comes to a point where you got to say, you just got to look at yourself and be like, look, I'm not doing it. You got to do it. Because if I wasn't here, who's going to do it for you? Go ahead. What? Trey, will you stop doing that?
I'm doing that because that's not moving out at 18.
I understand. That's
just responsibilities that they have just like any other child.
True.
And as a parent, you deal with those responsibilities of the children just like everybody else does. We all three of us have kids. All three of us have children who do just about the same thing. And we have to be there to be their crutch and hold on. I do understand you may not want to baby them all the time. No, don't baby your kids at all. but you're the support system. And that's a beautiful thing that the kids feel comfortable enough to come to you to get that assistance. They are comfortable. They know it can happen, and you're going to give it to them. That's a good mama. That's a queen. Man, that is beautiful that you're able to do these beautiful things for those kids.
So,
Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. They're here for a reason.
I'm gonna take a drink off that.
You're an amazing mother.
Let me go and get another one.
Your mothership.
mothership.
Anywho, but yeah. So, but I look at it like this: you got different cultures as far as their kids. You got some cultures where the kids can't move out until they get married. And you remember that time we had taken a trip. Were we in Maryland? We were in Maryland, and we had this Indian family was having a wedding ceremony, and it seemed like everybody in the wedding was happy and having a ball except the bride.
You could tell she was young.
Yeah. And
she was walking to her death.
And I know in their culture, they don't move out of the family home into their home until they get married. So
I can understand that.
Yeah.
That parent doesn't want a child to go out on their own and be a burden later.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
So you're gonna be a burden to somebody else before you're a burden to me. If you're gonna stay up under my roof, you're gonna listen to me.
Oh Lord.
If you make any money, you go give me that money. But if you wanna leave,
okay,
go talk
now,
to your buddy.
Let me tell you something else I've learned. Cause I've talked to Caucasian. I have friends that I know that are Caucasian. I've talked to them about certain things, and they are programmed. Like 18, you go to school. Not saying that everybody, but the majority of them are programmed. Hey, you go to school. In college, you find your husband. After college, within a year, you get married.
Yeah.
And like that's how a lot of their foundations. And I talked to a friend of mine. And she said that at the age of 25, she had finished college. She had just started working. She felt she was behind the 8 ball.
Wow.
Like she literally felt like she was behind. Like she was not married. I don't think she was dating seriously, anyone seriously. So for her, it was behind. She was behind the 8 ball, and she was 25. And I was like, "Oh, why are you worried?" She said, "Because." The expectation is like she's supposed to be starting her family by the age of 27. Like married, starting a family, into her career, And I'm wondering, I'm not going to wonder why it's a direct question. In Black families, males, what were you taught, Trey? And Lynn, what were you taught? As far as when you hit the age of 18, were you told, what were you told about the world? What were you told about when you leave? What were some of the things that, that you were given, those tools that you were given to ensure that you were successful? And if you had to go back home, what was that like?
You want to go, Trey?
So, me personally, I was learning how to be an adult at a very young age. Not to say that my family we didn't have a whole lot, but we weren't destitute, right? So I still had to learn to support a house and take care of bills at a very young age. So I was paying the water bill and the light bill in my house with a mother and a father working, right? Because they were trying to keep up with the Joneses. So for one, that's kind of how I learned to adapt to a better space. My pops had to keep up with the Joneses in order to get us out the hood. So he worked all day long in order to pay the mortgage. The rest of the bills, me and my mama had to fend for that. You see what I'm saying? So and becoming an adult and moving out on my own, I went into the military at 17 because I didn't know what life was supposed to bring me. Went into the military, and when I went to basic training and tech school, I knew I had to come home and find me a spot. Right?
Yeah.
That didn't happen, but I did come back home to my parents' house, and I knew I had to find my own spot because I can't be as grown as I want to be. I'm not disrespectful to my people, even though I'm in the military. I'm in the guard. I'm working full time. I'm making a couple dollars. I think I was bringing in maybe $42,000 a year living with my people, but I was able to help them with the bills. And at the age of 21, I was able to buy my first house. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I understood of what purchasing a house sound like because my parents were always trying to buy a house. I also understood what it meant to have your house foreclosed on because we had our house foreclosed on. So I was afraid of trying to do too much. You know what I'm saying? I always do to stay within due bounds so that I can afford the mortgage, and if I fall on hard times, I got a couple dollars left over to support me. So I'm thankful for the way I was raised and I became an adult, right? But I know that's not the case for everyone. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the case for everybody. But my parents didn't teach me that game. That was me going out seeking and trying to find a way to survive for myself.
Well, as for me, I will tell you that I had to learn everything by trial and error. I was living with my mom in New York, and then I told you I had a little brother. My brother that was under me passed away. So I was sent to Georgia, Preston, Georgia. It's a dot on the map, don't worry about it.
One stoplight for those who don't know.
No, it doesn't even have a stoplight.
So
Anywho, so I went to live with my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather. Now, mind you, my grandmother and my grandfather, they had no more than maybe a 6th or 7th grade education. So I'm living with them, and I was never taught like financial literacy or the sustainability once you get older, 18. It was all, you do as I say, not as I do. You were never taught, how to do certain things. And I lived with my grandmother from the age of, I think it was the 4th grade all the way up until I graduated high school. When my mom finally did move to Georgia, I think I spent 1 year with her. I went to high school. I think I went my 9th grade year of high school with her in Columbus. But for the most part, I was raised by my grandmother. And I was never taught those things. So, you know how back in the day it used to be where I'll be glad when I get 18, because once I'm 18, I'm grown, I can get out of here. And that's what I did. So when I turned 18, I went to college. But I only did a year in college. That first time I only did a year. I went to Payne College, I did a year at Payne, and I couldn't afford it. So I came back to Columbus. I got a job working at the hospital. I started working full time, and then I got my own spot. So, as you say, you get your own spot and everything because, you grown, you want to be able to do what you want to do. So I had my own spot. Then once I got married, we left, we went to Texas because my then husband was in the military. We left and went to Texas, so I didn't have no support system. So basically everything as far as finances, how to run a household, all that kind of stuff, I had to learn that by trial and error. I didn't have my mom or my grandmother to say, okay, this is what you got, when you're doing this. I didn't get that. So everything I learned, it was pretty much I learned by experience.
Right.
And once I got divorced in Texas, and I had to drive from Texas 17 hours with 2 babies, nonstop, to Savannah, Georgia. And that's when I moved in with my mom. And so that's what a part of coming back home, when you have to come back, the boomerang, come back home so that until I could get back on my feet. So once I did that, I came back home. I think I stayed with my mom for maybe a year or so. and I got my own spot. And once I had my own spot again, you know, I never looked back. I never had to come and say, well, Mom, I need to, even when I got laid off on my job at one point, but I never had to come back and say, you know, I need to, you know, come back again. You know, so it's I think more so now in this day and age, we as Black people are starting to teach our kids that, and which is well needed. And I think back then they couldn't teach us, like our parents couldn't teach us what they didn't know.
And I was just getting ready to say that.
You know,
because in my case, my mom didn't want her kids to leave. Like, she was like, y'all ain't never gotta leave. And she to this day, like, feels that way. Like, if she can put all her kids in one house, she would do that. Like, that is just her thing. You know? So, but what you said exactly. We were not taught a lot of things, and stuff that my mom experienced, she told me about it, wasn't taught. She told me about it because she had to experience it to tell me about it. But going all the way through the details of it, no. And we all us boomerang, you know. And I think now, because I remember when I was looking to buy my car, I had my daughter with me, and I was so frustrated. When I say frustrated, it was because I know what I wanted as far as the payments. I know what I wanted to put down, and I was not budgeting. I'm like, because anything over that, I'm going to be overextending myself. So I'm not doing this. I'm staying within this budget. I'm talking about when I say we went to call out after call out, and I had to learn different things, like, you know, hitting your credit every time. I mean, and there was a car lot that I went to. I didn't tell them to, you know, I told them once they was okay to run. I mean, they just kept running. And so I left there, I went to another one. I gave out my information still. When I got to the, I don't know, it had to be like the 10th car lot. This guy sat me down, and he was like, he came back and he was like, how long you been looking for? And I was like, I told him he pulled where it was a list of hits. And I didn't know. So he sat down and he schooled me right then on what to do. And so he said, come back tomorrow. We gonna find your car. And so I don't know how I was so frustrated. I'm talking about, like, when I took my car that I was gonna trade in, it was already having trouble. Like, they actually got in my car and was like, pressed the gas, trying to make the engine blow because I had transmission. I mean, they was like dogging me. And this was like the car salesman. They were trying to make that car basically give out on that lot, which would have forced me probably to have to
purchase a car.
Yeah, so, but it didn't happen. So anyway, when I talked to this gentleman, and he basically walked me through, and my daughter's with me every step of the way, because my thinking was, you see what I'm going through, don't go through this. So she walked with me literally every step of the way. And so when we was on the lot and we was looking around, and the guy just said, stop, tell me what you're looking for. And I didn't have my dad, all I was focused on was the money. Look, this is what I have, this is what I don't want to go over. And, you know, and he said, do you want a car? You looking for a truck, a Jeep? Like, I said, I don't know. I want it to be something is reliable and I'll be able to have. My daughter, she turned around and saw my car, and she was like, hey, this has what you want. And so it was a car that was just brought on the lot, and they hadn't even like washed it. I guess they'd already appraised it or whatever. So it was in the system, but it hadn't been detailed and placed on the lot. So the guy, he said, let me get the keys. He said, we're not doing anything else. He ain't got the keys. Came back, I looked there, and I was like, okay, this is, you know, I'm like, okay, the smile came on my face. I was like, okay, this is what I want. But then I was like, man, this is too much of a good thing. Like, it's something going on. I'm just like, so I went inside, and I was sitting down, and he went and he pulled it up. And he put it over the computer, and he just sat back in the chair and he looked at me, and I was like, oh Lord. When he turned the computer around, within my price range, what I wanted was a little bit over. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I was like, man, look. So the guy came to me with some numbers, and he was like, he had everything on it. I was like, and that boosts the amount of the note. And I was like, no, that's like, I said, I cannot, this is what I had. He said, let me go back and work some more numbers. And then sitting there, I'm like, at this point, I'm ready to cry. I'm ready to cry. My daughter grabbed my hand and started like, she said a prayer, long story short, the guy came back, I got the car. She walked with me through that, and now she's going to do the same thing. And it's frustrating. But she understands the responsibility. Yeah. So when she decides to leave, like, this is something that you have to learn. You're going to have to learn. I could walk with you, but you're going to have to learn. Ask these questions. So I give her guidance. And, you know, she's 22 now. And I talk to her all the time, like, I don't want you to leave home until you are ready to stand on your 2 feet.
Right.
She's wanting, like, oh, I want to. I was like, baby, girl, the world ain't going to treat you like mama.
You true.
Right.
So, see, in my case, it's like, you know, I love my kids. Y'all know I love my kids. But there's some times when I just want to walk around my house butt booty ass naked, and I can't do it with all these youngins in the house. I can't do it. You know?
Go get your room.
Having a room and walking around the room butt booty ass naked is not the same as being able to walk in your house, in your kitchen, fry you some bacon and eggs, butt booty ass naked.
So I got another solution. Do it anyway.
I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I said I was going to do that, you know, because
they gonna know your behind gonna be committed. Like, they ain't gonna swear you don't went crazy.
No, I can see her right now. They on the phone calling my sister, auntie. No, they probably call you, auntie. Something wrong. Something wrong with mama.
Do it anyway.
Mama in the kitchen naked cooking.
Do it anyway.
Something wrong.
I bet you they gonna start.
Something wrong. You need to come over here quick.
Man, those sons of yours, I can only imagine.
And then not to mention,
show out.
Not to mention trying to date. You know, that's. Let me take a drink. Okay.
What they gotta do with you date?
I mean, well, it's not necessarily my older two, but the younger one, my 17-year-old.
He's 17.
Yeah,
when he gets that girlfriend, you gotta work with him.
He got a girlfriend, but he still.
But you still have that leash on his neck.
Yeah, but
I can't go freely. He can't go freely and come back, you know, and you don't worry.
Yeah, true.
So,
but it's like, Mama, who you talking to? Mama, who is that? Mama, where you going? You was with me the other night. We were out having a good time. My phone rings. It's the kid. You know you got a curfew.
So can I interject something?
What?
He's 17, right? So he don't count.
You sure don't?
Yeah, he can do it. He's 17. He ain't 18.
You know, but the thing about
so when he turns 18, what are you gonna do?
Well, he live with his dad. So what is daddy gonna do?
What are we talking about?
If he wants.
So what are we talking about?
I'm just saying because he's here for the summer. You know, summer.
So 18, he wants to come back.
Come back where?
Here. Why? If you get ready to say why, I mean no, then why? I'm not saying why. I'm saying, you know.
That's what you said. Why?
I know. I asked her.
She said why.
No, I said, can he come back? I said, if you get ready to say no, then why?
Right.
Cause you got more opportunities up there where you are. Why you want to come back here? That's the question. So I mean, but don't get me wrong. I'm not going to, if he wants to come back, right. It's like you said, because he's 18, he still doesn't, you know, to be honest, at 18, I really don't think that you got to look at where we are these days and times. When we were 18, times were a lot different than what they are now. Economically, everything, it was a lot different.
Do you think go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Economic, do you think it's more beneficial to them the way things are now? Do you think the way they were when we were 18, were they more were they better?
I think given the way, you know, the way things are here now, I don't think they're financially able to sustain themselves at 18 on their own.
Trey, what you think?
About her.
About times now, economically.
No, that's why I've already said our children should stay with us for a good little minute. Like my nephew, he was living with me. My nephew stayed with me till he was 20, 23. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, financial agreement was being put on the floor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was completely ignoring that financial opportunity. The financial opportunity was us buying a house together. So the money that you would have paid in your rent would have now gone towards purchasing a right. He didn't want to move in that direction. But then, and I have the question right here. So then he went and got a roommate. Right, and I heard DC say something about the roommate earlier. Is a roommate has a roommate? Have you ever seen where roommates were economic gain for someone?
No.
I've never seen it either. So for our children to go out and try to go get roommates in order for them to afford rent and so forth, I think is dumb. My nephew went out. He got an apartment with some homeboys, people he swore was his aces, and he's found out real quick. Living with somebody ain't no joke. You see what I'm saying? So
because you can be friends with somebody all you want until you start living with them.
And you got to pay bills with them.
Exactly.
And that brings me back to another point I made. We as a society, not just people of color, but we as a society, we're afraid to show the next person how much money we make in order to have a group economic conversation. And like I told you guys before the show started, what me and my family decided to do this weekend, it don't make sense because we don't have the economic drive to do it alone.
Exactly.
We have to create an economic bond in order to drive together. And if that can be done within your household, then do it.
Exactly.
That's 3 incomes. If Q wanted to come home, if he wanted to come home at 18 and he was bringing some economic stability to the household, that's 4 incomes. What can we multiply by 4 twice a month that's going to bring some more stability to the household?
Exactly.
Now I'm gonna tell you, and I know this for a fact. There are cultures. That's exactly
what they do.
But we won't do it.
They live together. They buy a house. So many members move out. They buy a house, and they just continue to buy property and land and build. And you have and it's not a financial strain. And they teach their children.
Right.
So at 18, their children are homeowners, even though like it may be a collective group, but they always have a home.
Exactly.
Always
and before you know it, a neighborhood is formed.
Exactly.
I'm talking about that's exactly what we were talking
and
about.
while you
A
playing,
neighborhood is formed.
and me, y'all know I'm a licensed realtor, and that is one of the things that I have. How often do I sit up here and say, you need to buy a house? You need to go ahead, stop playing, get you a house. I told my son, my daughter, I told all of them. I even told my daughter, I'm like, look, next month, June, July, you buying a house. You ain't gotta live there, because we know you not moving, but you gonna buy the house. You can rent the house out, but that will be your property. You can have that property. That'll be your property. Then, the next time your brother gets one, and then when my son, when he gets about 18, I said around 20, 21, do him the same way. Look, we fixing to go get you a house.
How long you said, at what point, how long she got until, how long does the child have until they have to buy the house? You said?
Who, my daughter or my son?
I don't know, you just said somebody had.
No, my daughter, I told her, in June, end of this month, end of June, 1st of July, we getting a house. We're going to buy a townhouse.
Okay, so that means she's financially ready to go buy the house, and she's financially ready to take care of her mortgage without struggling.
True, correct.
And without tenants being in the house. Because you got to fill the house with a tenant. That means you also got to make sure that,
Yes,
okay.
I know all of that. Yeah, I got that. We've already.
Well,
but I'm just saying.
That's good.
But I'm saying.
That's
we've had many discussions about this,
Mhm.
and we put the plan, got the plan into play as to how this is going to go.
Okay.
You know, as far as buying the property, you know, if you want to rent it out, you can rent it out. If you want to live in it, you can live in it.
Are you trying to go?
Well, no, wait.
What?
Are we trying to build financial stability with the house, or are you trying to make her move out for purchasing the house?
Hey, you can do either one.
No.
If you want to move out, you can. But if you want to stay here, then you're gonna stay here. We're gonna rent that property out, and you're gonna use that income, and we're gonna take that income and take it and use it towards the next property. Because when you paying the rent, the mortgage is gonna be paid from the person that's paying the rent. You get it?
So let me talk. No, I got you.
Okay,
so
Trey.
Let me ask you something. If the mortgage is
Mm-hmm.
$800, you
Mhm.
charging the person what to rent? Because if not, to me, you
no. See, because what you don't understand,
Okay.
you do a analysis, a market analysis of what the rent is in that area, and usually the rent goes a lot more, is a lot more than what your mortgage is.
Okay.
So therefore, if your mortgage, say your mortgage is $850, and the going rent in that area is $1,200.
That's what you're rent for.
So that's what you rent for. You rent for the
But
$1,200.
that's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then you take that excess and you parlay that excess into another property.
So let me ask you something. Do you parlay all of it, or do you pay extra to get that note down? So
you can do it either way, whichever way you decide you want to do it.
Okay.
You
So
can
Trey,
do it either way.
What?
Why
If
are
he
you
sat
looking
back
like
and-
that? What are you? Hello,
I'm
Earth the Trade.
So I want to know, since you brought this up, y'all talking about this idea.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to buy a townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what a townhouse is.
Mhm.
She has a general idea of what a townhouse is.
Mm-hmm.
So she's already planning to rent it because y'all already know how much the rent is
Mm-hmm.
going for.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
she don't need to move out for the next 5 years.
no,
Okay.
but she's not going to anyway. Because you already told me she's not moving out. So
She just invested in property.
yeah, she just invested in
Long
property.
story short.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, which I mean, if you
I think that's an amazing idea. I
Mhm.
think that's beautiful. I think it should happen. And in fact, there's one right up the street right now going for $78,000.
mm-hmm. And
2-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
mm-hmm, jump right on it.
78,000. Up the boulevard, across from the park.
Okay.
That's where I bought my first one at too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I bought mine, it was like 65,000,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't gone up.
And see the thing about, cause you gotta realize that by us talking about this, we're not the only ones with this idea. Other people have those ideas too. So as soon as those properties come on the market, you got other people jumping on them as well.
So let me ask this question:
Mm-hmm.
What does she have to purchase it alone if you know she's going to stay here for 5 years, or can y'all purchase it together by creating a?
You can do it. Look,
I'm asking you how.
you can purchase it as a joint tenancy.
Right.
Which basically that's going to be like, say for instance, if you and you had somebody else, y'all going to purchase it to two people, both y'all named.
You and your daughter. Or your daughter and your son, they're
Mhm.
going to purchase it.
Yeah.
together.
So let me ask you something, and this is a good question. You're doing this with your daughter. Are you going to teach your 17-year-old?
Exactly.
Is he going to be like in on it
Oh,
so
yes.
that when he turns
Absolutely.
18 and
I've already had discussions with all of my kids. Look, you all need to start. We're going to start learning how to invest in real estate. I've had that conversation with them. We are going to, and that was one of the reasons why I became a realtor, so that I can learn this stuff and I can teach it to my kids.
Okay, you know what else I want to talk about? With this children moving out at 18, the school system has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're learning trades now
Mm-hmm.
while you're in school, and you can be certified
Mhm.
when you graduate from high school.
Mhm.
So the market for kids learning things now is much greater. Like I think we had there was a technical school that you could go
Yeah.
to and garner. I can't remember the name.
Secondary tech.
Yeah, secondary tech. You can go to and you can take a trade out.
I had automotive.
Oh, you.
But you know what though?
I ain't learned nothing.
But the thing about it is though, wait, well, I'm glad you brought that up
But,
because it was an issue because back in the day when we were in school, you had those type of trades where they had auto, you had shop and you could learn those different types of things, auto mechanic, all that kind of stuff. They taught you that stuff in high school.
That's what she talking about.
I know, but then they took it out of high school and started with the tech schools and started teaching it at the techs. So you couldn't learn it no more in high school. You had once you left high school, you had to go to a technical college to learn that, like automotive repair, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all of that. They used to teach it in high school, but then they stopped, and now you got to go to a technical school to learn it.
Well, some, because they're now starting these schools within schools that are teaching some of those trades, and some students can graduate with like an associate in like nursing or something in that field. I'm gonna say with nursing, but in the field, in the medical field. But they can also do dual enrollment, so they can actually start college their senior year. Some may even be able to start
in their junior.
Right, their junior year. So the kids now are much more advanced and exposed to career moves. They have to have those parents that help guide them. And everybody's not.
And see, because I like everybody's kid. Everybody's child does not want to go. All kids do not want to go to college.
Right.
Some kids, because like I know my son, anything to do with working with your hands, this boy is brilliant. Now actually have him to sit in a classroom in a college, that ain't gonna happen. But as far as a skill, a trade, or anything like that, you name it, he can do it. Right now, and like with barely little to no training, he's just like that. My daughter is like that too. She's not gonna.
Computer person.
Yes, I mean,
tech.
Oh my God, she's just
tech goddess.
She's the tech geek. She's like the one man, one woman geek squad or some stuff. So it's and I look because anytime I have a technical problem, electronic or anything like that, I call hey, fix it because that's what she does. So everybody's kid is not college bound. So it's good to have these trades. And some of these trades you can earn six figures with these trades.
Now, in saying that, you know what else?
What?
I can admit I didn't know what I wanted to do. At 18 years old, I think a lot of kids are trying to do things
They're
to
trying
please
to
their
figure it
parents,
out.
and they realize it's not working for them. I didn't know what I wanted. The medical field. Well, depends. What medical field was not for me as far as being in a actual hospital. I fell in love with mental health in that sector, but the actual hospital and that's not for me. I didn't get that gene.
No,
it bypassed me and went straight to my daughter.
Yeah,
she has that. I mean, from the time she was small, she would do things that Mama wouldn't dare think about doing. Like, I was so horrible that she threw up. I was pregnant with her.
Oh, God.
So, and I asked her so many times what she wanted to do, and I know she flip-flopped maybe 4 times. And I knew, but the thing about it is, I knew whatever she wanted to do, it has to be something. Like, I saw that in her. So now she is in school for medical, but, I think at 18, I think kids are still trying to figure it out. Every now and then you will have the ones that just, this is what I want to do, they have a passion for it and they'll go after. And usually those kids are identified at an early age.
Yeah.
The other ones, look, high school, you enjoying yourself, your parents, we're talking, you teaching skills and everything, but how many of them, when they sit down, what they started in college, is that the degree that they finish with once they graduate?
Exactly. No, and not only that, exactly. And not, how many of them, you got a degree in this
and not working,
and you're not working nowhere in the field of your degree. I did that for a little while. I worked in my field for a little while with my degree. I did radio for a little while with my degree. After that, now what I do now has nothing to do with this right here. But my main job has nothing to do with communications, unless I got tell somebody out at work. I communicate that very well. I'm just saying.
Those factors all affect those kids moving out. And it's different for boys and it's different for girls.
Yeah. You're right. Because I have a friend of mine, he has 2 boys. When his boys got 18, it was like books or boots. Meaning either you going to college or you going in the military. But the daughters, you wasn't done, they weren't done like that.
Double standard.
Double standards.
How do you feel about that double standard?
I don't
See,
think
I'm
it's
a
right.
female. We're female. Trey, let me ask you that.
You answer her first.
I did. But
I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair.
You don't think it's fair?
I don't think it's fair for you to have the double standard for. I know they're trying to say, well, you're trying to teach your son how, you're trying to teach him how to be a man by, pushing him out there so he can learn things. But okay, the daughter has to learn too. Okay.
That's my signal. Like, oh Lord.
Okay.
Saying
Yes. Okay. What is it? Trade down.
The architect of this facility is amazing.
You know what?
Just love the architecture.
Trey.
I wish I had a live studio audience.
Well, wait a minute. You know what? My son just came into the room. We catch up things on his shirt, but we ain't gonna care. Come on, son.
He can sit
Come
right
on.
there. They can hear it from there.
Sit right there and kiss him.
They can hear it from there.
So, we were talking about the double standards. Because we were saying, the double standards as far as the influence of a young black man versus a young black woman leaving the house at 18. So, what were your thoughts on it? Because I know you had mentioned that it was a double standard because you were saying how you got kicked out at 18, but your sister was able to stay.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I just went out there on my own at 18. It was just, you know how it happened with us. I know everybody's situation different, but that night I got my stuff and I ain't had nowhere. I was stayed at Auntie Dinah's house next door. And then after that, just went from friend house to friend house, until, I eventually went down in Rennes with Dad and Matt, stayed at Grandma's house. After that, what the first, I was going, I just had different, things that different deal with. Tavy was still here in the house, you know what I'm saying? I got kicked out because I guess you and James felt, I don't know, y'all felt some type of way because y'all went in the room and found, weed or whatever, To me, it wasn't that serious. Dad wouldn't have tripped on me. He wouldn't have kicked me out, if he found it, But, so I just left, I just, at that time, I was working. I felt like I was more responsible, like you should have sit there and talked to me or something, But when I came home and seen the whole room though gone, I'm like, I'm going to work every day, Like, shoot, I'm out in the street doing whatever. I'm like, man, I come home to see the room though gone, my stuff that I know way up on my bed sitting on a chair. I'm like, all right, well, pretty much I knew at that moment when I walked in and seen that, it was it. I was gone, I wasn't staying there, wasn't finna deal with it. I ain't like James like that, So,
So, how do you feel about the way Tavy? What's your perception on the way your sister was received?
I feel like as a girl, with her being a girl, it's supposed to be like that. As a man, you feel like, all right, I got to take on the world.
To the alpha males.
Like I got to, man, regardless of what happens, regardless of my feelings, whatever, it is what it is, these are the cards I was dealt, so, I felt like I would rather her. I'm glad she had what she had, because I got, 3, 4 other sisters, and I know they ain't all got the same thing. Everybody got their own, raised their own different way, but I'm glad she was able to stay in the house and everything, I felt like it gave her a chance to do what I couldn't do, like, build those skills like saving and, you know what I'm saying, all that's key to, succeeding and everything, like for me, I was just out there, and as soon as I got money, I spent it, I ain't worried about no, I wasn't thinking about savings and everything.
Right.
Like growing up, me, young black, we was just like, man, what's hot, what's this, I'm trying to get it, I need money, and everything costs money, I'm trying to have a good time with friends, so every time I made money, it was spent, it was gone, it wasn't no saving, no none of that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I have a question. You leaving home at 18, how has that transcended to you the way you are now? Because you're now a father, so what are you doing now to teach your son when you hit 18, or what are you going to do when he hits 18?
The main thing I want them to do is save. You know what I mean? More than anything, like the basic skills. They can just, to me, I feel like if they can get the habit of saving money, you know what I'm saying, and not spending it, I feel like they'll do tons better. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all this world about. You know what I'm saying? It's about how much you get, and that right there provides your resource, what you can do, how far you can go with everything. So if they just had like a nice little something to bank on, and they had that habit of saving more than they spend, you know what I'm saying? I'll be real happy with that.
Okay, so what are you doing to teach them how to save? Have you set up like a savings account for them so that, say for instance, every time they get money, say for instance, if I give them money, or their grandmother, their great grandmother sends them money, how have you set up for them to start saving, to teach them, okay, son, you got this amount of money, you can take half of this, put this up.
Okay, all right, Mom, I'm telling you this now. We ain't gonna get on all that on your podcast. What I'm doing.
Thank
be
you.
real,
Thank you.
I'm still, if to be real, you know what I'm saying, what y'all saying,
I
all
got
that,
you.
I'm still in the same process of kind of the same
So-
boat with them, man, you know what I'm saying?
To help you there, because my eyes just got super duper big.
Yes,
as well.
it did.
Because this is real. All right? So we're having this conversation, and we were just having a conversation about one of the children investing into a home to where she still doesn't have to leave the nest. We have another child that's saying that I was out at 18, and when I did get money, I splurged my money. So he's still young. Therefore, when did he find the concept of saving? He trying to get back on his 10 toes now. You dig what I'm saying? So when the question is being presented to him, how are you teaching him? What is he teaching? What tools has he been presented to pass down to his child? Because he's still trying to figure it out now. You see what I'm saying? And nothing wrong with that. But how is there a conversation about investing in one hand, and there's not a conversation about investing over here in this hand? So the situation has not changed from what I'm hearing. What just developed right here that I just heard, nothing has changed. The brother, 18, out the door. The sister still in the house, has money, about to purchase a home, and doesn't have to leave. Only thing she has to do is rent it out. His conversation is totally different. So there's a double standard, and the double standard was proven just now.
True. But see, it's not like he hasn't had the conversation about investing.
It's not about him not having the conversation.
He was out the house learning
Yeah.
the skills.
Yeah.
When she was in the house learning the skills, is what he's saying. So the skills that she got, that for that period of time that she was in the house, he wasn't afforded those skills. So he had to learn it. Either had to be crashed or he's learning them now.
And he was out with no stability. He was going next door to auntie house, had to go to another city, stay with some family. Went to another city, stayed with some family. So that's no stability. He wasn't put out with a cushion. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, or that nest egg that we was talking about. So now the roles kind of got to be reversed, and we have to wrap up that old way of learning, throw that out into the ocean, and now accept that other present that we've been receiving over the past couple of years. We've been educating ourselves for a long time.
Yeah.
So if a house is going to be purchased, I don't see how those two individuals couldn't purchase a house together if they're going to remain getting on their feet.
Well, actually, that has been thrown out there for them to purchase one together. So it's not like that has not been addressed. Have I not talked to you about you and your sister purchasing a home together?
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly. And what did your sister say? I don't want to live with him. So
she's
No,
not
they
gonna be
living
house
together.
now.
Ain't nobody living with each other now.
but
That's a
see, the
different
thing about it
conversation.
is, but I was saying, if they purchased a home together, they could, have the house together. They could live in the house together or whatever it is they wanted to do together. But since they had the conversation and that's not what she wanted to do, then that's when the other idea came along. So
if
I mean, we
going-
can. I don't mind. I don't want to live in the house together with him, but I don't mind investing in the house
Having
with
an
him.
investment property together, and now y'all making
I mean,
residual
we
income every
can
month.
set a goal if you want to do it. We can set it right now. It won't be for this year, but it could be for like this time next year.
Hey,
bam, that's what I'm talking about.
Look
This
at
time,
y'all.
yeah,
Look at
look
y'all.
at
And y'all
God.
can go
Yeah,
to West
This time
Savannah,
next year, we
go
have
find one
a
of them
certain
houses in
amount of
West
money
Savannah.
set aside to
Come on.
invest.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey.
We said, okay, so I say, so 1 year, so I say
So your mama know
5,000 a piece.
by the way, this is our studio audience.
Yes, this is out there.
10 bands, that 10 bands, man, please.
Here we go.
Y'all
That's
already
what
got
I'm
y'all
talking
house.
about.
That's $10,000 down.
Dang.
Y'all
Here
go
we
find,
go.
Y'all go find
I mean,
yourself about
see,
40.
I'm just kind of mad. I've been saying stuff like this.
That's all good. It's a beautiful moment. You
But
ain't
you know
got to
what?
be mad.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Beautiful
moment,
moment,
but you know what I'm saying? I'm the oldest of what? 9? I got 8 brothers and sisters. You don't think I've been trying to utilize a family?
It's doing it now. You got the show
No,
them though,
hey.
bro. You got the show
Yeah,
them.
you are the leader. You're the
Now here's the
oldest.
thing: the seed has been planted. All you
Yes.
got to do is water it. Now,
Keep
so
putting
the seed
water
is
on.
there. Just live in it.
And you
Shit,
know
yeah.
I'm here to
Let's
help
go.
and guide you any way you need it.
I mean, if you can get them together, because it's kind of hard to get all
He's a
8,
great
9
cook, by
of
the way.
us together. But 5,000, if you got 5,000 a piece from all 9 of us, and we get us like a 4-bedroom,
Y'all go ahead and start yourselves.
There you go.
like
Go
a
get
4-bedroom
I'm
somewhere.
gonna get you about
All right.
50,000 over there in West Savannah. Little
So,
50,000
as you can
you
see,
good with your hands, cuz you can fix that house.
yes,
up.
he can.
Boom.
He can fix. Yes, because look, like I said, this boy is awesome with his hands.
Come on, cuz.
Anytime. This boy was in the. Before we go, but wait a minute. Q, 2.
Huh?
2 was in the what? When you was going to Bartlett, he was in the 6th or 7th grade, and they had to do a project. This boy took my Christmas lights. What else did you take? The ceiling fan motor, and
And
Part of our PlayStation.
yes, and he made a welcome to Vegas float for a school project.
Okay.
I'm like. I was like, I'm happy. I'm good. You got an A on the project, but I'm like, dude, did you have to use my Christmas light? What we gonna have? We ain't got nothing to put on the tree now.
We ain't
The
had
ceiling
none. You
fan-
gotta improvise with what you got. If you ain't got the stuff,
But
you know
I'm
what
just
I'm
saying, I know we deviated from the subject, but I just wanted to let y'all know I had to, brag on my son just a little bit. But in conclusion, we all agree that we don't think 18 is a good age for your kids to be leaving home because they still do not have the knowledge and the wherewithal to face the world and all the trials and tribulations that the world has at 18.
Well, first of all, some women say even out of high school at 18.
Yeah, true, because you got some kids just graduating from high school at 18 and they still don't have it figured out.
Mhm.
So that's our opinion. Hopefully you'll leave yours in the comments. And that's going to do it for this episode of Expressed Opinions. Don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe. Also, leave your comments at the bottom, all right? Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your girl, Lynn Roberts.
I'm that girl, DC.
And I'm that guy, Trey.
And remember, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and never be afraid to express yours. Smooches.